We are going to talk about this creepy son of a bitch. Art, the motherfucking clown. Alright? Um, what, what a, what a villain, man. What a villain. I am pretty happy that I found this steelbook because it looks so mint. And, I mean, you gotta go big for a character like this in a film like this, which still gets a lot of hate, funny enough, in the horror community. It's loaded, loaded with buckets of gore and blood and bloodshed. And its villain is completely on par with classic horror villains. This is a villain of the tens, you could say, like 2010 to 2020, that really pulls no punches. Like he's incredible. Little backstory. There was a short film made by Damien Leone, or a couple of them actually, involving this character which he created, which was played by a different character in that short film. They were put together in this compilation anthology called All Hallows Eve, which I recommend checking that out too because it's a great anthology and it's a lot of fun, and the stories I think are great, especially the ones with art in it. And then a feature-length film came out with him as your main villain, with called Terrifier, and also directed by Damien Leone, who created him in the first place. And it's the perfect slasher, modern slasher. And to introduce a character like this, I mean, if you have a fear of clowns, enough said. Like, do a lot of people in the horror community have a fear of clowns? Is that why they don't like this movie too much? I mean, I'm going to get to some nitpicks here and there, but overall, like, 98 out of 100, maybe even 99. That's my take on it. I absolutely loved it, if you can't tell already. You start with an interview with this girl who has her face completely destroyed. Like, she doesn't even have a nose. And she's in this interview explaining what happened to her a year prior. And yeah, it's a very sad looking image, the way she is. But yeah, she goes through this horrifying story, and the newscaster isn't really the nicest person in the world when she gets to her dressing room or studio in the back. You can tell how much of a C word she is. And you know, that's your first kill of the movie, obviously. This is going to be spoilers. And then the film starts from there. I love the opening credits, basically. It reminds me of Nightmare on Elm Street Part 1, kind of opening where Freddy is shaving his, or sharpening, I should say, his knife fingers. And it's kind of like that, where Art the Clown is basically preparing himself with the makeup and the hat and all that. But it plays out like that, and I'm sure it's played out in a lot of horror movies the same way. But the first thing I thought of was, hey, that looks like a Freddy opening, which was pretty cool. And getting right into it, you get these two, starts with these two characters, these two girls. They're partying on Halloween. This takes place on Halloween night. And they go to chill at this pizzeria to soak up the alcohol after a long night. And here comes Art in his truest form. See, what I love about this villain is he's very still a lot. He's kind of like a statue in a lot of ways, where then you'll turn around and he'll be in a like different position, either smiling real big or like pouting real big. And he doesn't even have to move. He's a silent character too, and he doesn't have to move or make any threats to be threatening and to be creepy as shit. Because characters will come around a corner and it'll just show him not moving. Like, he's like a mannequin, and that's what makes him even scarier than if he was tackling the camera or one of the characters on screen. Which I'm not saying he doesn't, but man, it's the still shots of this guy that are more terrifying than when he's actually attacking somebody. And that's good character design, in my opinion. So he's teasing this one girl especially. He can't take his eyes off the one of the two girls named Tara, which I say Tara. I think her name is pronounced Tara. I don't know. I got in a lot of trouble one time when I said Tara, or when I said Tara, when the actual pronunciation was Tara. Anyway, long story. Um, Tara is being stared down by this clown, and she's chilling with her friend Dawn, who is played by Catherine Corcoran, I believe that's how you pronounce her last name, from Return to Nukem High Parts 1 and 2, directed by Lloyd Kaufman. Um, really goofy ass films from Trauma, if you're familiar with Trauma. She's in both of those, and she is absolutely beautiful. Like, this girl's one of the hottest blondes I've seen on cinema. She plays your ditzy drunk blonde who just wants to get laid, basically. She goes like, I love when she starts taking selfies with Art. Like, she's not scared of him whatsoever, even though he's creeping the hell out of her friend Tara, or Tara, whatever. And then he pulls off his famous scene in the pizzeria that he pulled off in the short film in All Hallows Eve. This is going to be a spoiler review, but I don't know if I should spoil the scene in All Hallows Eve. But for anybody who's seen both, knows exactly what I'm talking about in the bathroom and what he does in there, to leave for everybody else to, like, that works at the restaurant to clean up. Yeah, it's famous. It's this film and All Hallows Eve is known for a few things about Art, but that's one big one. So they get to their car, the tires popped, and they have nowhere to go. Tara calls her sister Vicky to come pick them up, and they're waiting in the car, and Tara ends up needing to go to the bathroom, so the pizzeria is closed already, and she goes to the bathroom in this this kind of warehouse, I think. It looked like an apartment building too, but it was mentioned in the film that it's a warehouse. And there's this guy outside of it who's a fumigator, and he's about to fumigate the whole place for rats and all that. So she asks him if she can go to use the bathroom, and he's kind of hesitant because nobody's allowed in, but he ends up letting her in. Goes, does his stuff. Art comes into the car where Dawn was staying behind, and you think she's killed. I thought she was killed because of a scene that comes on later, which I'll get to. I honestly thought Dawn was just killed in the car. I thought some victim that comes later was someone else, but that's just me not cluing in. This last watch, I'm like, oh shit, Dawn didn't die. That's Dawn, suffering up there. So yeah, this is where Tara basically starts being chased down all over the warehouse by Art and being terrified by him, hence the title, Terrifier. And this crazy lady is introduced who basically is mothering a doll, thinking that the doll is human. And she's clearly has some kind of severe psychosis or something like that, because she is very much a hallucinator and thinks the doll's alive, but some of the things she says, she clearly doesn't know where she is, kind of thing. And so she's introduced. You kind of don't know why, and there is no big reason why other than that. She just plays off as this crazy lady that ends up being another victim later on, which all the victims suffer some horrendous deaths, I'm telling you. What else do we got? So then there's Tara being chased down in the parking garage. There's a bunch of cars a parking garage, basically where cars park underground, kind of thing. And this is where this lady is also staying. I'm guessing she's homeless, basically. And yeah, Buddy, who's fumigating the place, has headphones on. He can't hear anything. Art, one thing, this actually might be a reason why a lot of horror fans are hating on this film, because Art does use a gun, and not always, because Art slashes a shit ton of people, but he does carry around with himself a 9mm, and he does this also in All Hallows Eve. So there is one kill, or I should say a couple situations, but especially one kill where he blasts Tara. Where he, I love the way it's done, because, and I love the sound of the gun too. The sound effect that they used on this gun is perfect. And he shoots her, and then he's out of bullets, and then he's all like fed up, so he has to go find some more. And that's where he finds Tara's phone, and texts her sister with her phone, so that her sister can come meet, you know, thinking she's going to meet Tara in the back of the building, but ends up becoming his next victim, kind of thing. But then he goes back to Tara and shoots her 6 times in the head in a row. And I still call this a slasher, though. I don't care if the slasher is using a gun. Like, the vast majority of the time he's slashing people and he's murdering people. Who cares if he's using a handgun once, you know? I actually think it's really cool that he carries one, because it's a breath of fresh air. And it's utilized well. It's not like it turns into an action movie whatsoever. Even the gun kills are still slasher kills because of how they're played out. That whole shooting scene in the parking garage, where he has to put a new clip in the gun, and the whole way it's paced and slowed down with a bunch of other things happening in the meantime. And he's so cool and calm and collected as your villain too, that again makes him scarier, because he's not afraid of anything. He's not afraid of taking his time. And I think it's just a really great screenplay for a horror film. It's not going to be a film that is targeted to everybody, and it's not supposed to be. It's a film that's literally targeted to horror fans, and I think it's the screenplay is done perfectly for that. So, did I... okay, so I did miss one part before Tara dies, and this is one of the kills, because Tara is made to watch Dawn be murdered, and this is what I was saying, that I thought Dawn was killed in the car, but this person being murdered in front of Tara was someone else. No, it's Dawn, so she has to witness her friend be murdered, and if you've made it up to this far and you haven't seen this film yet, I already said it's spoilers, so I'm gonna spoil it. She's hung upside down, and she's cut with a hacksaw from the crotch to the head into two. Oh God. They shit people right on paper. And then put onto screen, like, and all practical too. I'm sure there's a little CGI, but mostly practical. It is brutal. And I digress. That's why I don't know why this film isn't praised by more horror fans. Could be a few reasons, but one of them being that he uses a handgun. I don't know. I've heard that complaint already. That's why I brought it up. But then he torments everybody too by doing to them what they did to him. So he takes a selfie with Dawn, because Dawn was taking selfies with him at the diner or pizzeria, and he does shit like that. So basically, Art steals this doll from this crazy lady, and he is kind of nurturing the doll, and this crazy lady obviously believes that this is her baby who's alive, and she tries to be like all mother-like, like, and what did she say exactly? I think I wrote it down here. She asks him basically, like, have you ever felt a mother's touch? Yeah, ever felt a mother's touch, all calmly and sweetly to Art, and then he looks up at her and he's smiling, he puts his thumb in his mouth as if, like, you know, he was never loved as a kid. Flash forward, you get the crazy lady on the floor with her breasts cut off, and then you get, and her scalp too, and you get Art coming up with her scalp on his head and shirtless, and her boobs on his chest. That's sick. Okay. But like it just makes the whole reference of ever felt a mother's touch to a whole new level, and that's why it's kind of comedic at the same time and a little bit genius. I'm sick, I know. Uh, but here's see, and this is where I get a little nitpicky, and this is where I could probably see where a lot of fans are like, "This is getting stupid," because this lady, the practical effect against it's practical, but she gets up and all it is her tits kind of flattened and with like a bunch of like red guts on it and stuff like that. And even her scalp doesn't really look like it's literally ripped off. They kind of just, I would say they didn't perfect that scene, um, because you can tell that like maybe if they did use CGI just for that one, they could make maybe like make a gap where like the breasts have been removed. But when this lady gets up, she still has bumps covered in practical mush kind of stuff. So it doesn't really look real. And as real as art doesn't look either, when he comes up the steps and he's walking in this feminine friggin' Silence of the Lambs, um, I'm blanking on that serial killer's name in the movie, but when he it's basically a scene where art is like that's what I thought of. I don't know if it was inspired actually by that, but but yeah, I'm blanking on that guy's name. I forget. I'm not even gonna begin to think about it. But that scene is something that I have that you rarely see in horror, and I loved the idea of it because you don't expect art to go there when it comes to the cross dressing and the wearing female body parts. Um, it's nuts. As dumb and as non real as it looks, it's still really wild to see. And then Art riding his tricycle around the parking lot again, just being a creepy mother effer. Um, trying to torment the hell out of Vicky, who is the only one left now. She does meet the fumigator as well, and he has a brutal death himself too when he gets his head slammed in. But basically, your final girl, you kind of know or assume that it's going to be Vicky. So yeah, the bike horn with the tricycle. Yeah, it's funny. Apparently, also Art knows how to hotwire stuff because he ends up hotwiring the truck and then slamming it right through the garage. Man of many talents, I guess. And the cops finally show up, and I like that scene because you feel some sort of hope. And then you get the suicide with Art shooting himself in the brain with his gun again. And again, I don't think that's a bad choice for a weapon, and I love the sound effect of the gun. They treat it well for a slasher movie. It's like you don't think a gun would fit a slasher movie, but Damien Leone fit it in perfectly. Um, it's kind of like a trope, not a trope, but a signature move or a signature item for Art. Art the Clown, I mean. Um, but yeah, and then that's pretty much it. And then obviously the ending you get this whole like supernatural esque because Buddy shot himself right through the head and the brain, and he still gets up and you know uh, leads to a sequel. I can't wait for the sequel, by the way. And I forgot to mention too when he started eating Vicky's face, so he's a cannibal. Let's just throw that in there. And then you find out that Vicky was the girl at the beginning doing the interview. Um, I thought that was pretty clever. So that's it. That's my notes for Terrifier. I was saying that I cannot wait for the sequel. I've seen like posters because I don't know if they have even released an official trailer for it or even a teaser. But I'm there. I mean, if it plays in some theater that I can find, if they open, um, I'm totally down. But otherwise, I'll just be buying it. First day it comes out, hopefully. And my God, especially with the poster too. And it came free with this this steelbook. I highly recommend if the steelbook's still available somewhere. It's gonna look nice on the wall, that's for sure. I'm not super big on the bends, but you know. Yeah, Terrifier is incredible. I think it came out in 2018. And I did put it off for a while, not because I didn't want to watch it, but because I couldn't find it. Especially for a decent price. This shit was going for $60 for a regular Blu-ray, I'm pretty sure. And a very small distribution, too. I'm not sure the behind-the-scenes or the production or the distribution of this film itself with what happened to it, but I guess it was just a small little kind of announcement in the horror community compared to other films that, you know, they talk about for years. You know, Halloween Kills. I'm pretty sure they're going to release the whole script before that damn movie's released in the theater. I'm just going to know everything that happens. I hate that. But you get these gems that go under the radar, and I guess they're more worthwhile watching when you actually get to, like, I mean, hey, I'll take that. I'll take the wait for something like this. So anyways, yeah, I think I would give this a 98 out of 100. I love this film. Ooh, there's the scene that I was talking about where she gets it right down through herself. Yeah, it's brutal. It's brutal. But the cast is great. I mean, the acting is above average, I would say. You've got Jenna Cannell as Tara, or Tara, and you got Samantha Scafidi as Victoria, and everybody does a pretty good job. David Howard Thornton plays Art in this one, and I forget the dude that plays Art in All Hallows Eve, but it is a different guy. They look the same, so, I mean, in costume, I think maybe, I can't say that actually, I was going to say maybe this actor's facial features and expressions are better, but I don't even know if I can go there because they're both really good. But yeah, this is basically the perfect extension, full-length feature extension of, in my opinion, a really good short that is well deserving of making a full-length feature like this. So that's all I got. Comes with a DVD and Blu-ray as well. Yeah, there's your modern slasher. Art the Clown is definitely going to be... I'd be surprised if he's not, you know, a known villain or a classic figure for years to come. I mean, if Jigsaw's one, and you see him as like a little puppet, and then you see him as just this average dude. If they come like a regular slasher villain that is memorable, I don't know what else is coming. So, Terrifier, Damien Leone. Sweet, sweet film. Subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you like listening to my voice, and if you like my reviews. I will be back for plenty more. And until next time, have a great night and cheers.